We're joined now by Greg Feith, a former senior air safety investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board, now a private consultant on air safety. Greg, great to have you here. So, aviation analysts who've been looking at this footage of this airplane as it takes off say the flaps and the slats on the wings do not appear to be properly deployed. If that's true, the pilots would have been unable to really achieve altitude. Do you think that could be what caused the crash?
I think that's very premature, Elizabeth, only because the airplane is considered to be a smart airplane. It has electronic checklists. And so as you go through the progression of all of the things that you need to set up the airplane, if the airplane was not configured properly with takeoff flaps and slats, the airplane would give both an oral and a visual alert to the crew. The crew would have never initiated the takeoff. You can see from the video, if you really blow it up, that the slats are deployed, and the flaps, even though they don't appear down as people would see them when the airplane's landing, where they fall, basically are more vertical down on takeoff, those slats actually deploy straight out before they go down. So it's really a perspective of the video, but the crew would have never taken off with a misconfigured airplane like that. Because the airplane would have alerted them to that.
Right. Because I'm reminded, back in 1987, when I was first starting off as a reporter, I covered the crash of that Northwest Airlines plane, passenger plane in Detroit.
Yes.
And it crashed moments after takeoff because the flaps and slats weren't set. You say since then, especially with the Dreamliner, which is a brand new, much, with a lot of hullabaloo, it was unveiled, a little over a decade ago, that these new airplanes, there's going to be an alert sounding in the cockpit saying flaps and slats. These pilots could not have done what the pilots did with the Northwest Airlines crash in 1987.
Unless there is just truly a mechanical malfunction or failure with that particular system, the aircraft would have warned the pilots that the flaps were not deployed or the airplane wasn't configured as it should be for takeoff.
All right, so the CCTV footage shows the plane climbing for just 11 seconds before it begins to lose altitude. The pilot had time only for a single call of Mayday. There are reports he then went on to say, no thrust, losing power. What might cause that?
Well, that statement hasn't been verified. I've been running that to ground. If that were in fact true, that there was no thrust, losing power, that could be a couple of things. One, you have to look at what's common to both engines. Of course, that's the fuel. Now, do you have a contaminated fuel situation because they had uploaded fuel on that stop? Was there some sort of mechanical malfunction with the fuel delivery system on the airplane? Or was there some outside source? There was some initial reports that the airplane may have run through a flock of birds. I didn't see any of that in the videos. So you'd have to look for a mechanical malfunction or failure that would affect both engines almost simultaneously.
It was very hot. It was 100 degrees in India at that airport when the plane was taking off. Could heat have played a role?
Heat is always an issue with aircraft performance. Of course, the higher the temperature, the longer the ground run, because the wing isn't as efficient and the engines aren't as efficient with higher temperatures. However, the manufacturer takes that into account when it's doing its aircraft performance. The key here is whether or not the flight crew actually got the proper weight numbers for the airplane. Company provides the weights to the pilots. The pilots then input that into the aircraft computer. The computer then tells the pilots, you need to have this flap configuration and this thrust setting. If those numbers are wrong, let's say they're lighter than they actually are, then all of a sudden now you're not producing sufficient thrust for the weight of the airplane. And the airplane may fly, it may not sustain flight.
Very quickly, Greg, how incredible is it that this one passenger survived? We know he was in seat 11A. It was the bulkhead first row of economy, and he was right next to an exit door. That had to play a role.
Absolutely. It is amazing, given the fact that typically in these types of accidents, the front end of the airplane takes the brunt of the initial impact. For him not only to have survived, but survived almost unscathed is really a miracle, because this airplane had a lot of people on board. I'm sure that there were people sitting next to this gentleman and unfortunately perished. So when you look at it, could the bulkhead have been a key to his survival?
Or the exit door right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, there are reports he was traveling with his brother who did not survive. Just a massive tragedy. And obviously the Dreamliner is a big plane. A lot of people fly it safely every day. And people will want to know what happened here. Greg Feith, always great to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.